What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Monday morning. You know what time it is. It's tier list time. We got one more week of the Major 2 qualifiers coming up. A couple of things left to play for, especially for winners bracket and losers bracket spots. There's some confirmed winners teams, some confirmed losers teams, and some decent movement on the tier list this week. Let's talk about it and rank our teams 1 through 12. All right, so if you are new here, this is how I do the tier list. I don't do the letters thing. I do it this way. The top of the class, it's Thieves and FaZe. Top 2 teams, no real surprise there. We got Sunday regulars. These are the teams I expect to get fourth or more regularly get fourth throughout the season. Fighting for Sundays are going to be your top 6 to top 8 teams. I don't know, or teams that I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I think they're probably mostly terrible, but who knows? It's hard to put them in a box. The missing pieces are all the teams that I think need roster changes. So we got the Vegas Falcons. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on them because their whole situation is just ugh. But they did take a map this week against Toronto Ultra on a red card S&D, but that was it. They got smoked on the rest of the maps and series. Against LAG, they got 3-0. These guys get so close to finishing maps, and they just can't do it in respawn. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much about the situation. I hope that there's some roster changes coming for Major 3 and 4, so it can be a more interesting thing to talk about going forward, but let's move on. LAG, not really the kind of weekend they wanted. Yes, they went 1-1 beating Vegas, but they also lost 3-0 to Cloud9 New York, and they are pretty much in a tricky position as far as making winners bracket. The reason for that is you look at these standings, they're 1-4, and next week, okay, this weekend, they have OpTic and FaZe. So I just don't see how they go 2-0, and then even 3-4 with the current map record, it's going to be tough to back into the last seed in the standings, or rather the 8th seed in order to make winners bracket. So I just think this LAG team continues to be super mediocre at S&D. Respawns, they've got some good maps, they got mostly bad maps. They've started to really continue to regress, especially in hardpoint. With the record in the mode, they still can't find a way to win on Vault. So I think they're still chalked. I think they may beat OpTic. It's because OpTic are really bad, and we'll get to them in a second. But FaZe, I don't know. I think these guys will lose the bracket. I think maybe they back into a top 8. But yeah, roster change, blow it up. We'll see what they do after Major 2. Boston Breach, kind of a tough week for them. There was always going to be the deck a little bit stacked when you play Thieves and FaZe in a given weekend. And they got kind of waxed by Thieves 3-0 in that series. And I don't think any of the maps were particularly close in that one. And then they had a game 5 against FaZe, which I'll be honest, they probably should have won. They made a nice comeback on map 4. Maybe argue FaZe could have won that 1-3-1 if they didn't choke map 4. But Boston was up 3-0 in the S&D last map. I know there was a reset in the middle of that map, but they won the round after the reset and then lost 6 in the next 7 rounds. So it was a winnable series for Boston. They got good performances from their ARs this weekend. The subs, not so much. I don't know. The Boston team's just not that good. Did they make a roster change? They probably should. I can see where they don't due to the org situations, but because of their situation right now, they are 2-4. Their only match coming up is against Miami. I think there's a world, because of Miami's situation as well, if they win that and certain things go their way, I think they can back in the winners bracket. But congrats. You're going to play LA Thieves winners round 1, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. The thing for Boston, though, is I got to move OpTic probably behind them as far as how I want to rank the teams at the bottom of this list. Oh, bro. Where do I even begin to talk about this situation with OpTic? Miami and Toronto this week. 2 teams that, I think normally OpTic should be able to handle, but not this version of OpTic that can't win maps against teams other than Vegas. And they just got world starred by both teams. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to slice it. They were getting world starred by Rencor and Real. They're getting world starred by Joe Deceives. You're getting world starred by Insight with a sub. These guys can't win a map. I'm serious. Like, they have played 5 series and they have 15 map losses and 0 wins this stage. The only map wins against Vegas. Listen, it's a real tricky situation. These guys should be playing better than some of their parts, but you watch back the maps and the plays, and it's just, there's nothing to write home about. Everybody on the team is struggling to make an impact. I know Ken's obviously statistically having potentially one of the worst stages of all time. They need a roster change. I don't know why they should have done one 2 weeks ago. I don't know why they're waiting. I don't really understand why they deserve some last ride at this Dallas arena when they can't win maps at this level. But sure, if OpTic wants to send them out and the players want to go out and get embarrassed in front of their crowd and get last, like, that's their prerogative, and then make interesting set of roster changes after this major. But this team's chalked. In my eyes, are chalked. And then, unfortunately, this week, they've got Thieves and LAG. They could probably beat LAG if they play slightly better, but Thieves are going to embarrass these guys. Unless Thieves throw and give these guys confidence. I don't know, but these guys are already confirmed losers bracket, and no one in the history of the CDL has one event making it from losers. So yeah, not looking good for the OpTic camp. Probably a change upcoming or multiple. All right, next up we have the Miami Heretics, and they're just fully like an I don't know team because they 3-0'd OpTic, look great. Played Vancouver in a series where I honestly believe that this thing could have gone to a game 5. I wouldn't have had confidence for Miami to win that last map, but there's the frustrating thing with this Heretics team is that they can beat and win series against everybody in the middle of the pack, including a team like Vancouver, but they cannot get out of their own way. And they continue to have the same problems as they had last stage. They're still not a great S&D team. They have a very, very shallow map pool in control, 6-2 on Vault, but a combined 1-10 on Protocol and Hacienda controls. Like, they made no headway into their issues as a squad. They are fighting tooth and nail now to make winners bracket. It's still doable. They're 2-3. It's still doable. Carolina and Boston coming up this week. So 1-1 might get it done. 2-0 does get it done. But there's a reason I have them in this I don't know spot because they're just solidly like 8th best team in the league, I think. They're not terrible. They're not as bad as the teams below them, but they're not as good as the teams above them. Not as consistent. Yeah, I know they got 3rd at Major 1, but that was weeks ago. I think that was going to be the high point for the squad. And yeah, I don't know what to think of these boys. All right, I'm going to shuffle this a little bit and probably do it in this order. So we're going to start with the Minnesota Rocker. Currently sitting in the qualifiers right now at 3-2. Their only match this week was against FaZe, and they got 3-0 smoked. But they've got upcoming games against Vancouver and Thieves. So once again, Minnesota Rocker have an opportunity to make winners bracket, and I have a feeling they're going to once again fumble the bag here and probably start in losers. And again, it's just an unlucky, it's kind of schedule draw for them. I think that they are in a situation where they are not too bad. You look at map records, you look at stats, okay. But then when you dive in deeper, you start to see that the issue with this team is as talented as the Geoestrial Nero core is, they have the most shallow map pool like I've ever seen in my entire life. Hardpoint 6-0 on Vault, but you look at the other maps and they don't have a winning record on any of them. They're 2-2 on Hacienda Hardpoint. Protocol, Red Card, and Skyline solidly in the negative. S&D's even more wild. A combined, believe me, 11-2 on Hacienda and Vault S&D. Insane. The other maps, not including Rewind, not an active map, they are 2-11. Like, bro, how is it? They are 2 good S&D maps, and they have 3 other search maps that they are awful at. To be fair, they're 1-1 in Skyline. It just doesn't get played a lot, but the other 2, they played 11 times. So, and then Control, 5-2 in Vault, 4-7 on Protocol, but 1-0 Hasi Control. So, like, again, just their conditions to win these series are really tough once you get away from their good maps. And they're going to have to beat some good teams next weekend to make winners bracket. I think it's possible, but I think this team does not have their dog in them. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm moving them down to I don't know territory because I have a feeling they're gonna make losers bracket, and then we gotta have a conversation about whether or not they should try and make a roster change here. I can't be convinced that they're in that fighting for Sundays tier anymore. It's getting out of hand now with these guys. So let's now move back up to the actual fighting for Sundays tier and talk about Cloud9 New York. Interesting weekend for them. They 3-0'd LAG and then lost a pretty close one against Carolina. Trying to remember fully how that series went. I'm pretty sure the only map that Cloud9 won in that series was a Protocol Control. And if I remember, kind of scammed quite a few rounds in the S&D Vault. The red card was, I think, probably pretty decently close if I remember. But I think they just kind of got outclassed by Carolina, who played like pretty well on the day. I think the C9 team is just going to be a big momentum team. I think they're decent enough to pick off a Vancouver or Carolina on the right day on land and try and back into a top 4. But I think putting them in top 6 is kind of about the right spot for them. I think it's good to see that they regained from where they were at stage 1 to be like serviceable now. They just have some kind of weaknesses. It's not really a map pull thing because they've had a pretty good record this stage. It's just about execution. So they're going to make winners bracket. They already have 4 wins. And they're 4-2, and they have Atlanta FaZe close out the stage on Sunday, which is doable if FaZe test maps. But C9 will need to take advantage of winners bracket in this one and try and get some momentum. Otherwise, I could see it disappointing 0-2 and being out top 12 if they just kind of tilt on the day. Finally, a 2-0 week for Toronto Ultra. I've been waiting for this one for a while and also locks in the winners bracket spot as they are now 4-2. A 3-1 versus the Vegas Falcons where they just got smack-bopped on a red card S&D and an absolute world starring of OpTic yesterday, with Joe Deceives dropping a 205 KD in that series. And they looked like they were having fun. They were in flow. They did get their best maps in that series. And I think that's the one thing you can say about Toronto is like they have a number of maps that top teams have to respect in their pool, like a Skyline Hardpoint that they are definitely good at. It's just always a question with this team. Are they going to consistently be able to upset the teams above them? Because so far this year we have not seen that outside of some random matches in December. So I think putting them in this like fifth spot is probably about where they should sit. They're going to be in winners bracket. We'll see their draw. And they have a big match against Vancouver to close out the stage on, I believe, Saturday. It's either Friday or Saturday. I don't remember. It's Friday, actually. If they win that one, some good momentum going into Major 2. They lose that one, it's going to feel the same way I do about the squad. They're decent, but they're just not good enough yet to really make it deep or make it to a Sunday, rather, in their current situation. Only one match for Carolina. We talked about it. It was a C9 match, and it was probably one of the cleanest series I've seen them play really in a minute. I mean, the Minnesota series is pretty clean. I'm not really going to count the one against OpTic, but, that was the kind of respawn you want to see from Carolina, consistently being able to sort of outclass and outdiscipline teams. So if you're a Carolina fan, like you're hoping you get that kind of weekend consistently from them going forward. They are currently 3-2 in the qualifiers, so still some work to do, but they play Miami and Vegas, so they should make winners bracket. But they fumble Miami and beat Vegas, you're 4-3. It's going to really depend on the draw, and I won't be surprised if it works out that they have to play C9 again in winners round 1, and that one could be tricky for them. If C9 show up on the day. So still some work to do, still some work left to do for Carolina, but they're in the same position going into Major 1. They should be a tough out for everybody and good value to make it deep into the tournament and the weekend. Okay, Vancouver Surge. I thought they would show up on Friday against Thieves, and they laid a giant egg in that series. The Skyline S&D was close. I think the Vault went to a map 5, but honestly didn't really think that Thieves were going to ever lose that one. Just not a great showing from them. And then against Miami, they won, but I really think they didn't play that good in that match either. So a bit of a down weekend for Vancouver. Even though they were 1-1, I just don't think the mini-map in their play was at the level we've seen from them in past weeks. So you got one more week to really clean it up before the event. They're going to be a confirmed winners bracket team because they're currently 4-1. But they got Toronto and Minnesota coming up. These are tricky, potentially tricky matches. So just need to see something a little bit cleaner from Vancouver, so I have confidence that they can be a real upset dark horse going this event. But if they start to fumble and people kind of figure them out, the really hyper aggressive respawn level they play is starting to really, kind of not be as effective, then they kind of fall in that Carolina Toronto spot of like, depending on the weekend or the situation, they might not be able to do it. Right now, I'll leave them in the third spot, but this is a big weekend for them to try and continue building on what they've done so far at this stage. A weird weekend for Atlanta FaZe. 3-0 Minnesota. I mean, that was a decent series from them. First map got a little bit close because they got kind of almost came back on the hard point, but then the next two maps they kind of kicked it into gear and really showed out against Minnesota. But the Boston series was terrible out of them. I'm just going to keep it a buck. I was talking to Simp yesterday, and Chris didn't feel like they played well as a team, and I would agree. I think they could have played better in that series. I think they trolled map 4. They should have closed out. 3-1 should have been the series score line in this one. They're just having a problem right now in respawns. It seems like playing a full 10. We've seen this from them in the past. Playing a full real 10 minutes of a map to close out. And then in S&D, it just doesn't seem like, for me, from the eye test, that Tyler Abizi right now has the same impact in search that he had during the Major 1 cycle. So they need to try to get Tyler back involved in really being sort of that factor in every single round he plays, because his contributions per round have really dramatically fallen this stage, from being in the 0.9 per round territory, so getting 9 kills every 10 rounds, to being below a half a kill sometimes in these series. So still some stuff left to do for FaZe. They have confirmed the winners bracket now because they are 4-1, and they have LAG and Cloud9 coming up this week. They should be able to convert, but I'm a little worried about FaZe going to this event because right now they're 3-5 in S&D on the stage. And yeah, I know 3 of those losses were to Vancouver Surge across 2 series, but they've lost now every map in the pool in Search this stage. The S&D is going to kill them against Thieves if they can't clean it up by the time they get to Dallas. Because the thing is, and we'll talk about LA Thieves, these guys are in complete and utter flow right now, and have to be your favorites to win Dallas with the way that they are currently playing right now. They're just firing on all cylinders in all 3 game modes. They're having fun. They're 3-0 people, 3-0 Vancouver, 3-0 Boston. There's just nothing really to nitpick or have issue with about their gameplay right now. They just look like they're sort of in flow. They haven't lost a control. They only lost 2 search matches this stage. They have dropped a couple of hard points. Vault Hardpoint is a map they played a lot this stage, and they're only 3-2 on it. And the 1-1 Ahasi Hardpoint, too small of a sample size to really nitpick that. So there are some opportunities in this series against the Vancouver FaZe where I think Thieves can be in a splitting hardpoint situation. But I think if you're a Thieves fan, the 8-2 in S&D is really, really nice. That was our biggest criticism of Thieves, is being able to win searches, and they look like they've really figured out how they want to play that game mode, and obviously the control dominance is good to see as well. So nothing too crazy to say about Thieves other than that they are the big favorites, but this could be a trap weekend for them because they're already confirmed winners bracket. Now you're kind of trying to work on the edges of your map pool and tactics. They're going to play a desperate and hungry OpTic team that wants to get a win, and a Minnesota Rocker team that's also going to be fighting for their winner bracket live. So if Thieves come out and play B- or B level COD, I could see them going 1-1 this week and kind of fumbling a little bit before an event, but they should be in a good spot going in the major. And by the way, if they lose, we talked about this with FaZe last year. FaZe lost to LAG last match of stage 2 last year and then won the event. Like, if Thieves go 1-1 this weekend, I won't be that concerned because I think they're going to be fine for major 2. So yeah, I feel pretty good about this tier list. I think FaZe Thieves final situation seems like that's where we're going. Vancouver and Carolina now feel like those are the next 2 teams. Toronto and Clyde could also be there. They're playing decent enough COD that I think they have a chance, but I just think from what we've seen them consistently, they're below that. Minnesota and Miami, just don't know how to order these teams, but I think both of them are pretty average and probably going to be fighting for champs. By the way, and we'll come back to this, I don't know if it's going to be relevant by the end of the season, but Miami plays Vegas 3 times this year. Them and FaZe, I think, the only 2 teams that do that. So maybe that 10 points factors in them qualifying champs. If so, we'll have a conversation there. And then 4 teams at the bottom, Boston, OpTic, LAG, and Vancouver are in blow it up territory. And I'll be honest, I think Minnesota and Miami, depending on placing 2, could also be in roster change category. But I know some of you have thoughts in the comments, so obviously let me know there. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.